She left an open group chat on her computer and I couldn't help but snoop. Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you won't miss another cheating story goes live. We have been happily married for 2 years, and were together for 5 years before that. I found an open group chat screen on her computer while cleaning the house that was suspicious, and despite knowing it was wrong, I scrolled up. I found a disturbing conversation with a coworker that included a battle of who loved each other more, longing for cuddles with each other, and talk that was sexual in nature. I confronted her about this and she admitted to all of it with very little emotion and very calmly. I assume it was on her screen because she was reminiscing, as this happened a long time ago and the timestamps proved that when she showed me afterwards. She was hanging out with this coworker of hers who she fell for hard. They would make out after going to the bar on Fridays, and they exchanged nudes, but she swears that is as far as it went physically/sexually. The worst part is that this happened for over a year, and only stopped because the wife of the other man caught them and gave him an ultimatum. She admitted that if they didn't get caught they wouldn't have stopped, but she will not get off the fact that she didn't have intercourse as if that's all that mattered. To make it even worse, the time frame puts her doing this to me both before and after our wedding day. Which means when she stood in front of me and read her vows, and said I do, and everything else, that she was seeing this guy on the side. She said she has done a lot of rebuilding since then, and that she has been trying to improve the relationship from her side. We were about to buy a home and everything. She desperately wants to keep this going. She still loves me and she set up counseling, which I agreed to because I signed up for a marriage and I will put in maximum effort to try to keep it together. But alas, I am checked out. The first session is in an hour and I don't know what to expect. I don't want to continue this and I have too much empathy to not think of the last 7 years of good times, even though many of them are tainted. I am struggling to think of myself and what is best for me. Update: it has been a month since I, 32, discovered that she, 29, was having an affair for almost a year and a half. 6 years together and 2 years married. Affair started before we even got married, so the entire ceremony is a lie. She wants to reconcile but I'm still not sure, still heavily leaning towards no. I told her I would wait for my head to clear. I have had a positive outlook since Wednesday but I sunk back down a little yesterday. I don't really have a point to make, just needed to vent. Here is the second story. My wife and I started dating in our early 20s. I had just met her right before I graduated from college while she still had a couple of years left. After dating for a while I took a job about an hour away that had me working long hours. We weren't able to see each other as much as we had liked, so after a little over a year I decided I needed to find another job. I ended up finding a job closer to her and we decided that I would move in with her and her roommate. The only drawback was I would be starting out on night shift until a first shift opportunity was available. I figured it was worth the hassle because I would be living with her now and would still be able to see her more than I was before. At the time of moving in I felt things were going great, she had never said or done anything to make me feel otherwise. After 2 months of this new arrangement I came home from work one night and she told me that things weren't working out. I was completely blindsided and heartbroken. I was also somewhat angry after all of the sacrifices I felt I had made, so I grabbed what belongings I could and left. I ended up moving in with a coworker. I was still pretty confused and felt like this breakup came from out of nowhere. At first I honestly felt like we would be back together within a week. I mean, we had been together for 2 years and before I started my job on second shift things felt really good between us. I guess I just attributed whatever was going on to me being on night shift and not being around as much as we had hoped. Anyway, she pretty much cut off contact with me as she wouldn't answer my calls or return my texts. I still had a few things at her house, so I did talk to her a few times when I would show up to get my belongings. I let her know that I still wanted to work things out, and the few times we talked I thought the conversations went okay. She never mentioned anything about seeing somebody else. A few weeks later I happened to see her out with another guy. I really debated on what to do, but I ended up texting her and asked if she was seeing somebody else. She replied yes and that she was moving on with her life and that I should do the same. That was a tough pill to swallow, but at the same time it at least gave me some closure. A couple of weeks after this I saw her at the gym and avoided her the best I could. She ends up texting me a couple of days later. We end up talking over the next week or so and she tells me she wants to get back together. I was weary and took things slow after this. I kept waiting for her to come to me and open up about why she had left me. That never happened. I grew frustrated and questioned her several times about why she left me and about the guy she was seeing. She said that it was nothing serious and multiple times denied having sex with him. I eventually felt comfortable enough with everything she said that we were able to be serious again and we started having a sexual relationship. A few months later we found out she was pregnant and we moved into our own place. She was about 6 months along when, for the first time ever, I looked at her Facebook page and found a bunch of pictures of her with a previous guy. There was an album dated within a week prior to her breaking up with me. I questioned her about that when I got home, asking her why she left out that she cheated on me prior to breaking up, and then went over all the same questions again. She didn't offer up much of an explanation and answered all the other questions the same, and this was probably the first time I ever saw her cry. I felt terrible because we were about to have a child and I was putting her, and me, through this. I told myself that I would never bring it up again. Fast forward up until a few months ago and we have a beautiful life together. We have 3 children and we both enjoy our careers. Our relationship got back on track and has been amazing for the most part. We have been married for 10 years now. That being said, I've never fully been able to let what happened go. The fact that she never came to me and opened up about it, and that when we got back together she acted as if nothing had ever happened, still just didn't feel right to me. I looked at what our life had become and where it was going and always decided against bringing it back up. That is until I found out a coworker was going through something similar to what I had. I took this as a sign that maybe it was time to revisit things. I laid awake in bed one night waiting for my wife to come in. When she did, I told her how I was feeling, that I loved our life but how things had gone earlier in our relationship still kind of affected me to some extent. She seemed surprised at first that I would still be bothered by it, and then she started crying. I felt like the bad guy for bringing it up after all this time, and I thought maybe if anything just getting off my chest that it still bothered me would be enough. She didn't really say a whole lot that night and it felt awkward to talk about it, so I didn't push the conversation too hard. I thought maybe she would come to me and open up about things since she knew that it was still bothering me. A couple of weeks had passed and nothing. I waited up for her again and asked her to start talking about what had happened. She went into detail how it was hard because of my job and our schedules. She had a couple of friends she would go out with regularly, and I guess one night a guy they met became interested in her and she said it felt good to be noticed. Sounds like they ended up meeting up several more times over the next couple of weeks and got to where they would be making out with each other at the end of the night. I guess this is when she told me that it wasn't working out between us anymore. I continued asking questions and I asked her 3 times if she had sex with him before she finally admitted to it. When we had first started dating she had told me she was a virgin and I totally respected that. We still had our fun in the bedroom, but I didn't want to push her into sex and figured when she was ready or if she wanted to wait until marriage I was willing to wait. From early on in our relationship I felt like she was the one. I know over 10 years have passed since then, and she has been an amazing wife and mother since, but I still can't help but feel betrayed. It's hard to look at her the same now, knowing that she could ever do that to someone she says she loves and then to keep it from me and lie about it the way she did. Sorry for the novel, but I just felt like I had to air this out somewhere. We are in the process of setting up couples therapy. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for any future cheating stories.